Choose your track. Thunder Park. Choose your boat. Midway. Three, two, one, go, go, go!
Superstar. Booster deployed. Fifth place. Fourth place. Time extended. 2 laps to go. Fourth place. Third place. Third place. Second place. Third place. Second place. Time extended. Final lap. You are in the lead.
Winner! It's a new record. Choose your track. Lost Island. Choose your boat. Misbehave. Three, two, one, go, go, go!
Superstar. Booster deployed. Booster is getting low. Time extended. Hey, you found a secret. Time extended. Best time so far. Fifth place. More today, ladies and gentlemen. Time extended. Fourth place. Stay on target. Time extended. Tight turn ahead. Finish line dead ahead. You are in the lead.
Winner! Choose your track. Arctic Circle. Choose your boat. Damn the torpedoes. Three,
extended. Best time so far. Fourth place. Time extended. Tight turns ahead. Hey, you found a secret. Second place. Hard left. Finish line, dead ahead.
Winner! It's a new record! Choose your track. Greek Isles. Choose your boat. You're crazy. Razorback. Three, two, one, go, go, go!
Superstar. Booster deployed. Booster is getting low. Time extended. Time extended. Hard max. Time extended. Time extended. Hard max. Hard max. Time extended. Hard max. Fifth place. Fifth place. Fourth place. Place.
Finish! You placed third! Choose your track. Lake Powell. Choose your boat. Chum Dinger. Three, two, one, go, go, go!
Superstar. Get that power up. Booster deployed. Booster is getting low. Get that power up.
Choose your track. The Far East. Choose your boat. Banshee. 'Choose your track. Ship graveyard. Choose your boat. Armed response. Choose your track. Experts only. Venice Canals. Choose your boat. Thresher. Choose your track. Experts only. New York Disaster. Choose your boat. Tiny Tannic. Choose your track. Catatone. Choose your boat. Tidal Blade. 3, 2, 1, go, go, go!
Superstar. Booster deployed. Narrow path ahead.
Choose your track. Hydro Speedway. Choose your boat. Blowfish. 3, 2, 1, go, go, go!
Superstar. Booster deployed. Booster is getting low.
your track. Castle on Dandy. Choose your boat. Your Cutthroat. Choose your track. Experts only. Nile Adventure. Choose your boat. Crazy. Rad Hazard.
Power up. Narrow path ahead.
Choose your track.